Yeah, sorry, I got disconnected again. Do I continue?
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, Nasim, you're able to record now?
Yes, recording is going on. I've seen that.
All right, great. Thank you. Everyone can view my screen also?
Yes.
All right, great. So we just had an insight about what you all feel about competitive advantage. Some of you said it means your USP. Some said it means standing apart, being different. Yes, it's a combination of all of that. But what does it take and how does it matter to everyone? Today, everyone is looking at increasing bottom line. That is your profit. Everyone in today's environment wants to stand out of the crowd, and thus we need to stay ahead of time. And that is why defining a your competitive advantage becomes very, very important. All right. So it's like competitive advantage is generally an attribute of various factors. All these factors would include your cost structure, branding, the quality product offering, the distribution network, intellectual property, your customer service. So it's a collective thing. You cannot focus on just one part of it and say that you will achieve competitive advantage. In businesses, it's important that we take care of a combination of all of this, and of course branding and value creation for your organization. It is defined as the ability to stay ahead in present times. Yes, it gives you a potential competition. Hello. Yeah, so it gives you a competition, a competitive edge over the others. All right. Companies define competitive advantages when they produce attributes that allow them to outperform their competitors. So what you need to do differently so that you stand out. I'll try to relate this to this picture of the golden egg. Everyone put their audio on mute, please.
Yes, Jyoti. But actually, we are
Yeah,
not able to see the PPT.
you're not able to see the PPT, so the screen is not
Yes.
visible to all. All right, I'll just
Yeah.
do that. Naseem, just enable screen sharing for me.
Yeah.
Now is my screen visible?
Yes, screen is now visible.
All right, great. Uh, Great, and I'm audible as well, right? Great.
Yes, you are
So
audible. Plus,
we were talking about this. Why is competitive advantage? What is it, and how does it really matter? I was talking about this. Just a minute. I'll minimize this so that the screen is right. So when we talk about competitive advantage, we can also take this example of the golden egg amongst all the white eggs. What happens is it's distinguishingly visible and outstanding. The golden egg is distinguishingly visible and outstanding, but not amongst if everyone was golden, then it was not visible. But when you're different, you stand out. So this is what competitive advantage actually means. And what happens is that most people will laugh at your ideas. Most people are going to feel that it's different. Why are you doing it differently initially, right? So it depends on how strong your idea. Hello. All right, do we continue?
Yes, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess everyone is with me. Can we move ahead? Because there has been a lot of disturbances so far. Do I move ahead, or do we want me to
Yeah,
want to
you
throw
move
some
ahead,
more light here?
please.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Now, let us look at from an organization's perspective. Competitive advantage will refer to the factors that allow a company to produce goods and services better than their rivals. When we talk about USP is unique selling proposition. That is about you as an organization or you as an individual holistically. You don't have comparatives over there. When we talk about competitive advantage, it becomes more comparative. What is it that I'm doing different than the others in the business, than my competitors. All right. So that's the slight difference, nothing much, but yes, definitely it has to be your USP. Otherwise, it won't yield the kind of results that you're looking for. All right. So before we dive down into what your competitive advantage is, it is important that you understand what are your strengths and your weaknesses, because basis your strengths, you will be able to build upon the competitive advantage. If you are having certain strengths, you need to work upon those strengths. If you have certain weaknesses, again, I suggest weaknesses can always be converted into strengths by working more upon it. Then we need to look at the opportunities available in a given scenario. We also need to look into the threats available, how we can overcome these threats. A very classic example is the recent times when when we were in lockdown due to the pandemic. We've all, that's a threat, right? Everyone has faced that threat. All businesses have gone down, GDP has reduced. How are we going to work upon our SWOT and rebuild or revamp businesses in this environment today? How are we going to restart? How are we going to revamp our businesses and get that competitive advantage amongst the others? Because everyone is looking at the profit line, bottom line. Everyone is going to be working towards achieving those. Let's look at so it's very important. I tell businesses also when I'm doing strategic analysis or planning for them, that it's very important that on a quarterly basis you revisit your SWOT, because it changes with the changing times. Initially, yes, you might have had certain strengths and you are working upon that and creating a USP around that, but gradually with time, technology changes, we need to keep on revisiting those SWOTs, so we can work towards a better competitive advantage vis-a-vis others. So we need to keep our eyes and ears open on our competitors, on our competition. So let's move to the next part, that is your SWOT analysis and how you will be doing. What are the key things that you need to keep in mind when you're doing this SWOT analysis to achieve a competitive advantage? When I talk about SWOTs, I I would be classifying the obviously the strengths and quoting certain examples as well. But when you're looking at strengths, you need
Jyoti,
to
one
first
second.
identify. Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Rajiv Gupta, can I request you to please mute, because we can hear the double sound because you are not unmuting. Please, we can't hear clearly. Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, Jyoti, please continue.
Thanks. So we were on SWOT analysis. I will be talking about, obviously, I'll be giving you examples on the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that are there in businesses today. But what when we are doing a SWOT analysis, is not dividing your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your strengths in these 4 quadrants. But besides that, you also need to see vis-a-vis. You need to make 3 columns. One is a column of your strengths. If we talk about strengths, your strengths. Second column would be your competitors' strengths. So if I have a particular USP, is it, are the competitors in the same industry, same business, same sector having same similar or other strengths? And the third column would be what can be different that I can do on those. So if you do that kind of analysis at each and every of the 4 quadrants, it will go a long way in sustaining your business and helping you achieve your or at least identifying your competitive advantage. All right. So let's look at strengths first. They are the internal factors that enhance. So basically, they are internal to you. They're as individuals. It is about you, about your skills. For businesses levels, it is about your USP, your pricing, so on and so forth. How, generally speaking, strengths can be a pricing strategy. Let's say you're coming up with pricing and benchmarking your goods and services with others' goods and services. Okay, how different is your pricing? Are you going in for cheaper price and trying to achieve a larger market share? Are you going for a higher pricing and trying to achieve only a niche? What sort of pricing mechanism do you want to follow? It's your strength. I mean, you can charge anything today when you're starting up, right? So it depends completely on you, what sort of pricing strategy. So it's your strength. Unique selling proposition, that is your USP. How are you going to benchmark your product or services vis-a-vis the rest of the world? What is going to be that one thing that you're going to be talking about your product and services? That's the USP. Resources, what resources are at your disposal, easily at your disposal? if you're into existing business and in times of pandemic now you want to restart, you will have to relook into what resources are available. Manpower, if it's a manpower intensive business today, manpower can restart only 15%, 30%, not 100%, because of social distancing. We are all aware. So does that, it might be your strength, it might have been your strength in the last quarter or earlier before that, but today it's not a strength, it moves into the weakness bucket. So I'm just trying to give comparatives with examples as to how you will go about identifying. See, SWOT analysis is a huge concept. All MBA graduates and professionals and businesses are aware about that. I'm just trying to bring into perspective as to when you're defining your competitive advantage, what steps will you take. So these are just examples that I'm sharing with you, which will help you, understand your strengths vis-a-vis your competitors, and then understanding what is best suitable, what you can outcome, what you can come forward with. Manufacturing capabilities, what sort of plant and machinery is available? Is it, because see, it comes for a cost like depreciation, it comes for a cost like sale of scrap and things like that. So what manufacturing capabilities you have? Are you technology based or are you manpower based? What is your skill point? How can you enhance your product delivered to the customer by working on your manufacturing capabilities? Value addition, what sort of value addition can you give to your customers? What you feel is the best part about your product or services, that would be the value addition. Innovation, which are the areas you feel is like, at the tip of your fingertips, and you can innovate that and you can come up with great ideas and go ahead with that. One classic example here would be when with lockdown, resources were not available, the grocery stores were closed around. Online stores which had an existing platform like Swiggy and Zomato, who had an existing platform of delivery, tied up with these local vendors and started distribution. So it's available, your strength is delivery, okay, and you have bought into innovation by adding that tie up and delivering services. So what are you doing at the end of the day? You're enhancing your bottom line. So that's how innovation works, and innovation is very dynamic. It will keep changing day in and day out. It will require re-engineering, rethinking, and revisiting your business processes every single time. But understand what can be your strength, how you can capitalize on that. And last, competitive advantage. It is one small part of that entire basket of strengths. Yes. How will you distinguish amongst all of these? What is your competitive advantage? What are the competitive advantages the competitor is looking at? More important, what the competitor is looking at. Suppose you choose to be USP your strength and USP to be your competitive advantage. You will see 10 of your rivals standing out there and using that as a competitive advantage. Then it does not stand to be your competitive advantage, because everybody would be talking about that only. Is that different from the rest? This is the kind of analysis you need to do at this stage on SWOT in terms of strength. All right. The next part is the weaknesses. They are internal factors that can discount. That is your weaknesses. If you talk about individuals, it's about your shortcomings. We can always work upon those. We can overcome these by learning new skills, by adapting new technology, by keeping ourselves updated with the recent developments around us. When you talk about organizations, we talk about capability gap. Let's say a manufacturing concern is there. Tomorrow they want to bring in some technology in it, because obviously now we are moving off from manpower based production skills to technology based production skills. So if an organization makes that decision, they need to build up their people to come up to the level that they are also capable of understanding that technology and delivering that kind of service. It should not be that the management has thought of something else, and when you are actually identifying at grassroots level, the employees are not able to do that. So capability building, understand that gap. It's a weakness, it will persist, and we need to understand that and build on that. And also simultaneously, next column, see what your competitors are doing, how they are handling it, how they are tackling it, because trainings and other things are also a cost to the company. So we need to look at not only what your weaknesses, but what the competitors' weaknesses. How are you leveraging between the two? That's your third column, and that's where you will start shortlisting your competitive advantage points. Competitive disadvantages, obviously that's straight. What your competitors' advantages are your competitive disadvantages. Financial risks, risks in the market. Today lending is very I mean, for new entrepreneurs, it's difficult. Lending is not available. Banks are holding a lot of NPA. Liquidity is less. These are all financial risks. What can you do? How will you come up the curve? What your competitors are doing? How are they handling it? Are they investing large amount of capital today to get the kind of results? Because you need to move on and switch over to different methods also, right? Which will call for money. And how are you going to handle that? How are you going to, is there's a risk in the market, the GDP is down, economy is not in a great state. What That's a weakness today. The financial risks will come and go. What is yours? List them down. What are your competitors? List them down. Benchmark the two. How can you leverage it? Work upon that. That will help you shortlist your details for your competitive advantage. Effects on core activities. What are your core activities? What is the impact on the core activities? Important. Understand your processes. Know your core deliverables first. Okay. And understand that at the end of the day, the customer is least interested on what you're doing. They are interested in cherishing the product equally as they were a while ago, or even better. So what people are looking at for is better results. How are you going to overcome those weaknesses today? Know your vulnerable risks. Know what inherent risks are there within your business. Know if there is a lack of training in your organization. Know if there is changes in your processes across the organization. Understand that they are all your weaknesses. See, weaknesses doesn't mean that they are here to stay. They have to be worked upon and improvised, and then you need to shortlist. See, you cannot be working on all of them. You need to work on some of them to make them your work them to your benefit, and that's how it will become your competitive advantage. Pressures and deadlines, we are all aware of. I need not add much over there. Scarcity of resources, I already talked about finance being a scarce resource, the capital being a scarce resource today. Manpower is also a scarce resource because we cannot start 100% operations. It all depends on what is scarce in your nature of business and how are you going to tackle it. What are your competitors? Next column, how your competitors are tackling it, and what differently you can do to bring about that change. The third part is the opportunities. These are the external factors that empower. Opportunity, grab it. Those external factors, they are not within you. The first two were within the organization. This is external to the organization. When we talk about individuals, we can say that external factors is a job opportunity, a growth opportunity, a promotion opportunity. What are we doing for that? What steps are we taking to achieve that? How are we building ourselves like that golden egg so that we stand out of the crowd? All right. So those are those opportunities that we need to understand what we are going to be working upon and then take the step forward. When we talk about businesses, it talks about market condition. What is your market? Is your market changing with, I mean, is the product type requiring a change? Are the market conditions favorable for your product? What are the customers' needs? Most dynamic. Customers' needs change, and with fast changing technology, the needs of customers are very, very high. So we need to understand what we are going to be changing in that area. Now, all this, what I'm talking about are just examples, and we need to actually sit down and brainstorm as to specific to every business. All right. Industry trends. What are the changes in industries? In my industry, in my sector, the business that I am into, how am I going to leverage upon that? What are my competitors doing in the industry? How are they going to achieve that? And shortlist what you will be doing. Core competencies, they are your opportunities. What is available? What is the core competencies with businesses across? What is the core competency available in the market? How are we benchmarking ourselves to that? Seasonal trends, changes in climate, changes with seasons. What is it going to impact? How is it going to, industry standards, compliances, rules, regulations. I still remember when GST had come in, people weren't prepared for that, right? So gradually people got accustomed to filing those returns and doing accounting in that particular fashion and getting hold of the GST numbers and things like that. So it was an opportunity, but it was disguised as what? Disguised as a weakness initially. But at the end of the day, it has helped streamline a lot of processes. It has helped automated the accounting functions in a lot of organizations. Now it depends how you look at it. Some people look at it, oh my God, it's such a dreadful compliance that's come our way. So opportunity are disguised as hard work. It all depends on how you're going to be looking at it and how you're going to add that as a convert it into a strength and add that as a competitive advantage vis-a-vis your competitors. The last is about the threats. These are the external factors that destroy. Uh, since the last 60 days, we've clearly seen this in terms of the pandemic, how businesses have had a downfall, how companies are now looking for revival. All right. So these are slack in the job market, manpower retrenchment leading to loss of jobs, changes in business policies. All these are threats. In terms of company, it could be regulatory environment, changes in tax structure, the other new technologies that have come in. So there is a new technology, like for example, if you talk about banking, the core banking system came into and everything moved to core banking system. Uh, have your people adapted to that change? All banks were working towards that. It took time for every bank to adopt within its culture how they're going to be doing that. So the earlier you do it, the earlier and quickly you're going to convert your threat into an opportunity. So you need to look at that perspective. So if there are 10 people doing it, how am I doing it differently so that I'm ahead of them? Uncertain weather, nothing to explain here, we've all seen it around us. Internal manpower issues, when you're facing manpower issues within the organization, when labor union issues are there, manpower is not willing to work, or in today's environment where you cannot work with 100% capacity, so how are you going to be handling that? What steps will you take? Will you adapt new technology? Will you bring in change in your processes? Will you, because see, ultimately you have to deliver the similar quality or a better quality for your customers, so that cannot go aside. So what are your steps you're going to be taking on this? So that is a threat, and how will you handle that threat depends on how you make it your competitive advantage. Consumer confidence, how are you going to be getting back your consumer confidence? How are you going to actually understand what the customer needs and whether it is in line with your product and services? Because people's tastes and preferences will keep changing. How many consumers are still confident enough to have business with you? It's very important. So it's a threat. Today a customer may not be a customer tomorrow. How do you sustain your customer relations? All right. Economic conditions, we all know the conditions around us. I have already talked upon this. I'm not going to be adding more over here. And once you do this study, like you understand what your SWOT is, what is the SWOT of your competitors, then you see what can you shortlist as working on your competitive advantage. So let's say out of whatever we discussed so far, you've listed down 5 points can be a competitive advantage in your area. Please do not start working on all 5 of them, because you'll land up nowhere, and it's going to take a lot of hard work and money to do that. So for this we have we need to understand what Michael Porter had said in terms of how you can achieve that competitive advantage. So yes, competitive strategy is all about being different. How do you stand differently? Means deliberately choosing to perform activities differently, or to perform different activities than your rivals, to deliver a unique mix of value. Now, when you've done your SWOT analysis, you are also, your next column, as I already mentioned, talks about what different things you are doing. When you are doing something different, are the competitors also doing something different? Because if they are also doing the same thing differently, then you don't stand out in the crowd. So it's very important to know that you should have 2-3 options in hand. And that's why the SWOT analysis becomes even more important, because unless you don't have that in black and white, you will not be able to understand what you can do to build more on your business. All right. That's basically Michael Porter's definition and how he explains it. How do companies achieve it? Most of us are aware of this diagram. It talks about low cost and differentiation. So here I will say that first of all, you can achieve competitive advantage with two focus, either lowering the cost or differentiating yourself in the market. When I talk about the broad target, that is this part, the broad target. Broad target means when you're looking at a broader business perspective. It's a leadership decision, it's a management decision that companies have taken to bring about either cost or differentiation method. So if you're talking about cost leadership, it means identifying the costs Okay. Lowering the costs, having better negotiation with suppliers, investment in new technology, okay, increasing the learning curve of your employees, in changes in product and processes to bring about efficiency. These things will be called as your cost leadership things. All right. I think I have this. Yeah. And when you talk about a broader differentiation, you can bring this differentiation through high quality, better brand value, and high distribution. How do you differentiate your product? So you choose that you want to have a niche in the market, and you try to create that niche by having a certain benchmark of quality. Of course, Apple is the best example over here. Apple comes up with innovative technologies, and it's got nothing to do with what the Android users have to do. They have a certain quality, they have a certain brand value, and they have a certain pricing that they differentiate themselves for. They have a certain niche. So it's very important what the top management, when I talk about broad targets over here, I'm talking about the top management's decision in differentiation and cost leadership. Cost leadership, cost lowering costs, you can talk about Maruti or you can talk about McDonald's believes in quick service delivery, and it has diversified into various products at reasonable costs. Okay, what is this?
Carry on.
Yeah, sorry. Maruti has been infusing a lot of technology, but the Maruti vehicles have always been reasonably priced. So that's the cost leadership, if you want me to give an example. And differentiation at a broad level would be Apple. All right. uh, Now let us move to the narrow strategy. That is when you are boiling down to cost focus and differentiation. When you talk about cost focus, it's targeting customers looking for cheaper product and services. So I'm not going to be looking for people who want to develop a niche or who are able. My target audience is completely different. They want cheaper products and services. They're okay with spending less and using things for a lesser time. In terms of services, I'm okay if 200 clients pay me some amount rather than having 20 who pay me a decent amount. So when you're targeting that, that means at the narrow level, at the user level, your audience, your customer base, you are working on your cost focus. So your target customer becomes like that. Example, we can say that Amazon as a what does it do? It's an e-commerce site which helps. It always has some of the other discounts. It's got sales and offers. Amazon, Flipkart, all these things. They focus on delivery. That's it. That's their core job. You get it, the stock delivered in n number of days. So it's like economical cheap, something you don't get locally. You go and log into Amazon and you get it, right? So when you're using this cost focus, it leads to improved margins, because obviously your bottom line is nothing but sales less cost of sales. So your cost of sales gets reduced, and you have improved margins, you have improved liquidity because your cash flows are great, uh, improve rather. And you start de-risking your business, so the risk factor here gets eliminated to a certain extent. Again, depends on what the market also has to say for you. Differentiation focus here, differentiation in the in the narrow market, that is looking for differentiation uh, of customers at a lower level. For example, Amazon Prime. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, what happens? They say we'll deliver to you, I think, within 24 hours or something. So if you're an Amazon Prime member, I'm differentiating you. You're not a normal Amazon customer, you're an Amazon Prime member. So you're different. And for that differentiation, what am I going to do? I'm going to give you better discounts, or I'm going to give you quick delivery and things like that. So that differentiation should be clear. Don't try to do all the four things at one time, because you'll be in the middle and you will lead nowhere. So when you have done your SWOT analysis, you need to sit down with this chart. You need to think as to what will be your focus area amongst the four quadrants. First of all, observe two categories in terms of cost or differentiation. What steps you want to take? What if I choose cost? What would be my management decision? Categorize into cost leadership. What would be my cost focus? Categorize into cost focus. All right. So make it very clear and crisp. Otherwise, what will happen is you think of I think my internet is. Hmm. Can see the slides, right? Can see my screen, right?
Yes, yes. But we lost your sound for a while.
Am I audible?
Yeah, now you're audible. Can you
Yes,
speak
yes.
little louder, slightly? Or take the mic closer to you.
Now am I audible better?
This is better.
Yes, yes, yes.
1 minute. Just a minute. Now is it better? Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is
Go
fine.
ahead.
Yes. Yeah. So we were talking about okay. So when you do your SWOT analysis, you shortlist those points which you want to take as your competitive advantage. So let's say you've listed down 5 points. You are going to categorize whether it's in A, that's the lower cost category, or the B, the differentiation category. If you're talking about lower cost, whether it's a cost leadership, whether management decision is required for that, or is it a narrow level focus area, what your customers you're going to be delivering for. Same for differentiation. You need to decide whether it's broader or narrow category. And once you chart that out, make sure that you're going to be using one or two of the, mostly one only. Preferably don't mix up everything because you'll land up nowhere. So take any one strategy and adapt that. Take any one part of it and use that as developing onto your competitive advantage. All right. So how are you going to be doing that? How do you create that edge? So there are different strategies you will use. You can use one or many of these 7 strategies that I'm going to be talking about. The first one is cost leadership. When you talk about cost leadership, that is the first quadrant that we talked about. That is having leaders come up with cost saving ideas and cost saving strategies. I've already given example of Amazon, Walmart, and the e-commerce business who've been focusing on cost reductions. So that's about cost leadership. The second one is the differentiation strategy. That is when this method is used, companies, you can give example here is of course Apple, then you have Rolex, Nike. They have their own niche. They have a pricing strategy which is different. They cater to different set of customers, but they differentiate. And what differentiation they do is better quality, improved services. So that's why they can have that kind of margin. They can differentiate in that way. If I talk about individuals, individuals using this method must find out their core strengths and talents that separate them from the pack. How do you become the golden egg? So you need to understand as individuals, you need to leverage your unique skills, your abilities, increase your learning capacity, increase your skills, upskill yourself. That's how you create a differentiation. Innovation strategy. So when I talk about innovation, I believe today everyone needs to go in for this, because innovation means ideation, doing something differently. Whether you're doing cost or differentiation, again innovation is required. What new thing you're going to be doing? As companies, you may move ahead of the competition by doing either in a new process, new technology, new method. There are different things that you can use in terms of innovation, but whatever you do, do it consistently. And don't let go that. As many times what happens is today you come up with an innovation. Let's say I'm going to change my process to a technology based processes. I put in capital, I equip my manpower, the capability building is done, my products are and services, again I have revamped my business, my sales are going. Suddenly what happens is you think, okay fine, I'm working on something else, I'm doing product diversification, and then this innovation which is already set in place goes for a toss. Let that not happen. So consistency is the key. Whenever you're innovating something, keep that with the organization, build a process to it, build build your strengths to have a set of people working towards that continuously. Okay, just having a research development department and giving you innovative ideas doesn't do the job. You need to ensure that your strategy is continuous, it's ongoing, and then only it will yield long-term results to the company. Operational efficiencies. Many companies use this. Use operation processes as your key to outstand yourself. Blue Dart, FedEx. These are examples of operational efficiency. What do? FedEx started out with an innovation strategy. They decided that we are going to be going into the delivery business, delivery of goods, that is your courier business. But then they did this overnight shipping, and then they realized that it's important that my operations, that is what I deliver, should be quick, should be instant, should be well packed. Same with Blue Dart. So these are the companies who have built value by developing its operational processes. So when you join organizations like that, say for example, you're an employee of Blue Dart, you would know how stringent their processes are, how people work on the turnaround time. So it's the operational efficiency that gets focused. In today's environment, a lot of shared services businesses are using this to improve on their deliveries to customers. Service oriented businesses mostly use this. For individuals, what you can do is you can create a system of operating new ideas, analyzing data. Okay, of course in innovation also, I forgot that, but then it's important that you focus on data. Data is the key. How will you innovate unless you don't know what's happening in the world outside? Have statistics to back yourself and then come up, otherwise every idea will look great to you. So work on that. Even individuals can work on being more efficient by understanding, by preparing a data of activities that you do during a day and work and improvise and benchmark yourself in a couple of days and see how you've changed and improvised. We all do that day in and out. That's nothing but operational efficiency, becoming better than anyone else. All right. And that's how you become the golden egg. So the next one is your technology based competitive advantage. Technology, we've seen in all industries, be it motor cars, be it computers, uh, mobile phones. Technology has been the base in today's environment, and things have increased in quality, faster, better services are being offered just by the advantage of technology. Can we use that as a competitive advantage? Can we create that and benchmark them? This comes for a cost, and it's a huge cost. So how much capital are you willing to put into technology? It's very important. Understand that and manpower, getting over from machines and manpower and moving to technology. Is it better? Is it good? If I would like to relate it to the all our trainers today, what used to happen earlier? We used to be invited at a forum, a hall used to be booked, and people used to call us to give a session. And today we are all on webinars. We're using technology as a competitive advantage. We cannot be out of business, right? So that's how you leverage technology. Adaptability competitive advantage, that's the next one. We'll be talking about adapting to change, adapting to economic factors, adapting to businesses. What different I can do here? As I gave the a while ago, I talked about Swiggy and Zomato being, they have adapted competitive advantage. So they have used the adaptability competitive advantage to leverage their businesses. Information advantage, make use of data available on hand. Almost all the strategies that I've excellent if there is information available, because you need information for adopting any one of these. So competitive advantage that will help you outpace your rivals only if you have certain information to your advantage. Make the most of it. Successful companies seek the latest in technology, strategies, and data. Very important. Individuals who want to keep their competitive edge need to do the same thing: train themselves, upskill themselves, become more relevant, like that golden egg. Add Adding value as an employee also adds on to you only, no, at the end of the day. Lastly, a few tips on how to stand out from your competition. I think we've got another 5 minutes and we'll quickly finish with this. Here are just a few ideas how you can stand out from your competition. One is deliver extraordinary services. Give a wow feeling to your customers. Give your customers a cherishing experience that they don't go elsewhere. Whenever you're building a competitive advantage, what we talked so far, you can use any strategy. You have to first identify your SWOT. You put forth in the quadrants of either you're going to use cost or differentiation. But at the end, how you're going to be standing out. So here, there are just a few tips and tricks which we can use. What you're going to be, what you can do to do different. I'm just trying to bring that to perspective. Address customer pain points. Here, every problem needs a solution. A lot of companies have complaint logs, complaint registers, and these complaint registers form to be the base of their innovation. It's important. It's important that you understand the customer pain points, because business is all about providing solution to problems. If people didn't have problems, we would not be in business, right? So it's important that we provide these solutions. So it's important that we understand the pain points and then you provide a solution. Maybe it may help you just stand with for delivery service or another sort of a service or another sort of a product which can be your competitive advantage. So understand customer pain points. Do business differently than your competitors. Okay, everybody's doing like this, I'm going to be doing the same thing because that's what runs. No, that does not work, not at all in today's environment. So find out different things, explore different ideas, and that you'll come to know when I speak on the last. Focus on a narrow niche. It's okay if you want to just target a certain set of customers. Build a revenue model around that. Make that our outstanding point. Build a competitive advantage around that. So this is another way you can do it. Adopting which model you will be using will be different for different businesses, basis the effectiveness of your business, how you're going to be doing about it, and the right fit. But make sure that you're able to have a certain focus. Create a powerful offer or a guarantee. What do I mean by that? If you go to Vijay Sales and buy a mobile phone, or if you go to any other mobile store and buy a phone, or if you buy a washing machine, all these electronic goods have guarantees, right? When anybody is putting in certain amount of cost, generally we take washing machines, fridge, and all this on EMI. When you're buying something, people look for warranty and guarantee, and after sales service. Another way of putting it across is an after sales service. So I will go in for something which has got a larger warranty period and a guarantee period, right? Rather than someone, even though if it's slightly expensive, I would not mind. I mean, today companies come up with, you can have an additional warranty period by paying an X amount. Many people do that. So when you're creating that guarantee offer, make it powerful, make it interesting, make it customer inducive. Customer should be willing to go in for that. It should be attractive. And also, what will happen is this will create your brand value. People always look for an after sales service, and a guarantee or a warranty adds on to that. I would also add over here, and any kind of after sales service also can help you stand out. But then when you're talking about after sales service, you need to make sure that every time you're able to provide that service. It should not be that one of you're just addressing one or two customers and then the rest is gone. It should not happen like that. So this helps you create trust within customers. So you get trustworthy customers when you're actually creating a powerful offer or a guarantee or giving after sales service. Create a memorable culture. Everybody wants today to work into Google. Why? Because they have an amazing organizational culture. You attract top talent, you keep try to sales, because your employees are your brand ambassadors for your product and services. Please do not forget that. Your employees are going to be talking about your brand. Okay, this company is good to be with, this company is not so good to be with. What are you doing in your organization so that your company, your brand stands out? Create a cause marketing effort. What do you mean by cause partnerships or collaborating with social causes? I'm not talking here that, I'm not talking CSR over here. I'm not talking about, just sending aside and, donating some amount of money to any corporate or something like that, or for any social cause or an NGO. No. Cause marketing here means building relationships and collaborating. For example, let's talk about this platform, the AI3 platform. What is this? It's an NGO. What are we doing over here? We are collaborating together as professionals, as educators and trainers, coming together and working on different aspects free of cost, maybe a journal, maybe a reaching out to schools, colleges for a discounted products, so on and so forth. How does this help? This helps in contributing to society, and it adds value to what you're offering to your customers. Customers would know that you're associated with such and such organization, which is for a cause, which is for a purpose. So if you they want to know, if you're passionate about anything, just go ahead and attach that cause marketing. That not only helps in building your brand, it also helps in making you stand out in terms of, oh my god, this company is great because it's associated and doing so much for this NGO or for this cause. There are so many NGOs and so many causes today. Just get yourself associated with anyone. Become a social business. Here CSR is the key, means what I was talking about, corporates giving in certain money. But you do not just give in money and you shut down there. No, it's not about that. When you say become a social business, you need to contribute in terms of not only not necessarily money, but also work towards it. For example, creating a digital environment, upskilling people in rural India. So you send in some of your employees, or you contribute a cost to it, where you're doing that. You're setting up an infrastructure for skilling up people in villages, or you're doing a cause. You're putting in some part of your bottom line towards a social business, and it's just doesn't stop there. You're continuously upgrading yourself and adding on to that business, because it's an ongoing thing. You cannot just say, I have put in some amount of money for this social cause and I'm done. No, it has to be ongoing. Like, people, there are so many organizations who give their employees to teach for India, and they go out there and teach. The only relationship that those people have with the organization is their pay package. So they get the salary from the company and they're actually working for Teach India. I'm just giving an example. There are so many. You can go out and upskill people in rural India. All these things, when you're getting associated with social causes, what happens is you're networking. Cause marketing, social businesses, you're networking, and you're networking and showing care, a reasonable amount of care to the society, and that definitely helps you out to stand out in the eyes of your customers. And yes, the last one, be quirky and be weird. It, as I told you when I was talking about do business differently than your competitors, be quirky, be weird. Ideas come into your head when you think out of the box. Now, lateral thinking, out of the box thinking is something different, a different topic. I'm not going to be getting into that over here. But when you're talking about standing out, what is it that you're doing different? Some companies have social activities within their organization, like calling kids on a particular day or calling parents on a particular day and engaging with all of them. These are quirky, weird ideas. Or having colorful colorful visiting cards. uh, Anything that's different, like that golden egg, stands out. Very simple. You get the attention of your audience, and when you do that, it definitely helps in you standing out. So whatever your business is, if you have some quirky idea, I would say just go ahead, and that will definitely help you. If it's really worth it, it'll definitely help you grow your business and stand out as a competitive advantage. So that's all from me now. Any questions? Do let me know. Any questions for me?
Jyoti, it was very good session. I don't know.
I can't hear you. Who's this? Just say your name and start.
Naseem here.
Yes.
Yeah, great learning.
Anyone, any questions? You all can unmute yourself now. I'm done the talking. You can unmute yourself and ask questions. Any questions so far?
No, Jyoti, no question as such, except I just share the same sentiment as Naseem said. I think the session was really good, and we will all have to pick up our, you know, takeaway from here to kind of, understand what can be our strategy to, build upon our own competitive edge and, being a differentiator when we are pitching ourselves in the market. So that's been my takeaway from here.
Great, great. I'm glad that this session was helpful. Any suggestions? Anybody, please? Suggestions are also welcome. I think we are on time. Yeah.
We can ask.
So I have left my email ID and my contact number. If anybody wants later on has any questions and want to talk or discuss anything with relating to competitive advantage, lateral thinking, you can be in touch with me. Thank you everyone for a patient listening. And I hope this will be useful in your businesses going forward. Thank you.
Jyoti, am I audible, visible?
1 minute. Let me just
Hello.
stop screen sharing.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Paul sir. You are audible and you are visible.
Okay. Well, friends, Jyoti has given us a very good session that gives us clues to review our business and organization and making it a standout organization. Now, in the capacity of Joint Secretary of IAA and on behalf of our knowledge sharing session group, I thank Jyoti for giving such a wonderful session and all the participants who have come to upgrade their skills to stand out. So thank you, Jyoti, for giving a wonderful session. Our next session is on 16th. Pankit Shah is giving on graphology. I attended, 2 sessions, one a small session and a full day workshop. If you learn graphology and if you take corrections in the handwriting while writing, you change your personality. So welcome all of you for the next session. Same day, Tuesday at 5:30 to 6:30. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Great
Thank you.
session. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.